Tuning in to the online broadcast network, AfterBuzz TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment. AfterBuzz TV, the destination for TV superfans, producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hey.
I feel like you and I always start shows with groovy music.
I know we do, because it's the way it's supposed to go down. Hey. What's up, everybody? You welcome to the dance party, aka Are You the One After Show. I am your host, Gonsalves, and we are playing Grover Washington, just the two of us, because it is only two of us tonight. I got my lovely home girl, my home sizzle, Marielou Mandl. What's up, girl?
Hey, what's going on? Glad to have you back.
Yes, yes. I'm glad to be back. I was missing last week, trying to get my teeth straightened out, but they're straight and they're pearly white, and it's all good.
They're beautiful.
No cavities. It's great.
Fantastic.
I'm so excited about that because cavities are not good.
Nope.
For an adult.
No.
All right, so let's get into this episode. So this is the 9th episode, right? And for those of you that watched the show last season, correct me if I'm wrong, and you can tweet this or comment on the YouTube video, but I believe last season they got all of the matches, all perfect 10 matches in 8 tries. Mm-hmm. So we're now past this. We're on the 9th episode, and we know that they have not been doing, if I can use that term, I've been really doing a good job matching up.
Yeah.
I think now they're kind of getting into a rhythm. They've got 2 perfect match, people in the truth booth, which we'll get into back to back, which is good. They did kind of digress though last episode. And so now it's like, where do we go? And I think a lot of them are thinking with their heart, which I can understand. And, they get emotional and everything, but some of them just refuse to play the game. And I mean, what is your take on that?
Oh my gosh, it's been bothering me the entire season because I'm very game driven.
Right.
I get competitive, so I see that this is a game show. They know they signed up for a game show, and I understand it's a bunch of hot people, a bunch of alcohol. You're on the beach, like I get it, but you're there to play a game, right? Right. So.
And win $1 million. That's the prize.
There's a prize. And then afterwards, I think I've said this a million times, you hook up with whoever you want afterwards.
I've said it as well.
Right. But it's math, right? There's math. So why hasn't there been like a chart? I want like a big chalkboard in the house of like, great, no, and make the matches. Right. Which I even at the end of this, I made a chart.
Yeah.
Because I was like,
which I really want to get into. I really want to get into. So I agree with you. And I do understand, and I don't know if it's a difference because obviously this particular season they pick certain types of people for these shows. It's a dating show, like you said. They're hot people. They're obviously very attractive. They're young, and a lot of them maybe not have a lot of life experiences, a lot of relationships. Some of them have been in several relationships, according to what they've mentioned to some of the people they've talked to. But for whatever reason, they still can't get it together, and I think they get so enthralled in the fact that they are around these people. It's like you look at Christina. Let's get into it. Christina and Leighton, they think they could be a match. That's how it starts off. But then Brandon and Christina are not a match, but they still won't leave each other alone.
Confirmed not a match.
Confirmed not a match, and they still won't leave each other alone. So my thing is, okay, so you're not a match with this person. You got to play the game, but if you invest all of your energies into someone who's not your match, I understand you like them. I understand you may want to be with them for the rest of your life, and you decided that in 9 weeks, okay? Sure, fine. But my thing is, play the game, and then, as we've both said, hook up with them afterwards and live happily ever after and split that $100,000 that you'll have between the two of you.
Listen, Lem, you and I need to get on the show maybe they'll set us up as perfect match,
Right.
and we're going to be the ones if they're like, listen, you need to stop hooking up with this person. I'm going to put you with this person.
Right.
1, 2, 3, 4. We'll get the ratios
Get like
out
some timeouts going on or something like
it's gonna
that.
be fabulous.
I mean, and I understand it adds drama to the show, which, you know, why we watch it. But at the same token, it's like, come on, people, you can do this. You know, you can. And my thing is, if I was there, I would, and some people, you know, have kind of blasted me, you know, on the comment section because they feel like I'm a little cold and I'm not, you know, and we've obviously had some people on the show that's given some insight, and Jenny was one of them that said, it is difficult because you are thinking with your heart. But my thing is, I would get to the match part as quickly as possible. And then whoever I'm really feeling, then go afterwards.
Yeah,
and make, you know what I'm saying? Make a connection and, you know, develop into a relationship or whatever happens. Do you see what I'm saying?
You know, absolutely, because you can still have the hooking up and all of that if you separate a little bit from it. And I had a friend of mine who watched this episode with me who actually mentioned if there's a couple that's a match, because I was explaining the game to him and I was like, oh, at the beginning there was this couple that knew they were a pair but tricked everyone, so they wasted one of their informational truth booth situations. And he's like, well, it's not advantageous to get rid of the person that might be the best problem solver. So if there's like a really good problem solver at the beginning, you wouldn't want to get rid of him. So that could be a strategy in a different world.
Sure.
And
I mean,
that's what I started thinking. I was like, it's math. It's all math.
And granted, you know, and I'm not oblivious to the fact like we're not there.
Yeah.
You are in this bubble. You're around these people 24/7. I understand catching feelings. I understand how you know, and the end of the day, these people all come there single. So they're single for a reason, whether they just broke up or they've been single for a while because they can't hold on to a relationship.
Yeah.
So they feel like if they do find somebody, they're like, oh my gosh, I need them and I need to have them. I don't want to let them go.
Yeah.
You know, even though it's a game, they still don't want to let them go even for a moment, just to go on to the next, you know, next person.
But I will say in this episode, I loved that it seemed like they started with some strategy at the beginning of the episode, but we still got some drama, so I got everything I wanted.
Of course. You said, oh, it's a perfect episode.
Yeah,
you got the best of both worlds.
Can
Can we talk about Nathan hitting the wall though, just for a second? Like,
Nathan.
So I mean, he started off kind of crazy for me, and you know how he was like with approaching women, and you know several of them. Christina was one of them, and he felt like he was there. You know, all of this kind of stuff. And then I felt like he was like doing well, and he was just playing the game and kind of going with the flow. And then now he like is hitting the wall, and I'm like, dude, like. It's not that serious. Like, really?
Yeah. And then there are other parts where he gets like specifically called out in a big argument in the house that's later in the episode. So I know I feel for him there, but then at the beginning when he was just punching the wall, I was like, oh baby, no.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, you're just gonna hurt your hand, you're gonna destroy property. What good is that gonna do?
Yeah, just do some push-ups,
right?
maybe.
Something,
you know?
or run around. Like maybe, I don't know.
Or start talking to other girls.
Yeah, I just don't like ashy knuckles, so I wouldn't do that.
No,
I wouldn't do that. That's just me. All right, so let's get into the challenge. The challenge this week was an interesting one, as it always is. It was a huge obstacle course, basically, that they had to do together with each other, and they were attached at the waist.
And it was called Stuck Buddies.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. It was.
I love the names of these games.
and I love how Ryan like had to like tell him, because everybody had this blank stare. They were like, okay, because normally there's some innuendo, and then he has to like kind of say it out,
like
you know.
Stuck Buddies, like bleep buddies.
Yeah, exactly. And he's there like, oh, we get it. Oh, got it. All right, cool. So they're attached at the waist and at the ankles, standing back to back, and then one person has to lead them through the obstacle course. They get to the end, and then they have to reverse. So then they have to switch. So it was interesting to kind of see. It seemed like for the most part, it wasn't very difficult for anybody. Like no one like, you know, crashed and burned really bad, or, you know, it was just like whoever was the fastest. So the winners of this one end up being Brandon and Brianna, Alex and Jasmine, and Nate and Ellie.
Yes.
And I kind of like Nate and Ellie together.
Yeah.
I kind of like that. And of course, Ellie, who prior to this game, she was really like, I have never, you know, been on a date. I really want to go on a date. And she was, and she's also feeling Nate too. She thinks he's hot and all this kind of stuff. I mean, she's kind of switched around some guys, Anthony, Leighton, but I think she's kind of honed in on Nate now. And she likes that pairing. And she's like super excited. She's like, I want to win. I want to get on this date. So I think she really tried really, really hard. She really tried. And if I'm not mistaken, Nate hadn't been on a date either. So it was like for the both of them, it would have been the first time. And he mentions that they get to go-kart racing and like have a nice barbecue, which is cool. I think that'd be fun. So anyway, the game's over. They go back. And then Ashley, we have Ashley now. She is thinking her match could be Leighton, but, he's been sleeping around with Jess. And so this is an example of where people are kind of doing whatever they want to do, and they're just saying, screw the game. Because in this case, and of course Leighton has argued his point because his thing is like, oh, no, I'm playing the game. I'm just being physical with Jess.
Totally.
And so, and you have someone who, like Ashley, who really is in it for, it sounds like she's like, I really want to get to know this person. If this person was my match, I want to get to know him. But there's no getting to know him when he's constantly with Jess.
Yeah.
Whenever they're, in the boom boom room or whatever room they're in, being physical with one another. So I feel bad for Ashley because I think she's a good girl. I think she's very attractive, but she's kind of getting the messed up thing of the stick. And then you have Dario, who's also in the, it's like these triangles all over the place, who like really likes her and really wants to get to know her, but then she's kind of stuck in between him and Leighton. Now, if you're in that situation, Marielou, how would you handle it if you were her, if you were Ashley?
Well, she even made a good point where she's like, this person I like, but he's hooking up with other people.
Right.
This person I like, but maybe he's a little too aggressive. It's kind of where I see her resistance on Dario.
Because he's being really aggressive.
Yes, because he is actually being really aggressive with her. So that can be a turnoff because she's not used to all of that kind of attention, perhaps, or or she's like wants. She's playing the game by even using Leighton as an option. Right. That's playing the game. So I'm on board with her entertaining that and having to tell Dario, like, I'm sorry, maybe not. Right. So, I mean, I'm with her. I'm with her choices that she does with this. I do see that it's hard as a female to, like, be stuck in that spot. Be stuck
in that situation.
If she did go into this thinking, like, she's really going to come out with love, which that's, a very potential thing.
Right. Well, I mean, and I do think Dario's coming on hard, but at the same time, like, I think that for me, it seems like he wants to be with her genuinely. Like, he's not screwing around with other women. And he's obviously also, like all the other guys, an attractive guy. There's other women that he could probably, fool around with potentially. But at the end of the day, he's focused on her. Maybe a little too focused, but it doesn't seem like he's pressuring her to do anything she doesn't want to do. Whereas I feel like Leighton, and this is how my opinion with Leighton, he feels like because she's a virgin, she's not trying to have sex with him. Oh, well, then that's not going to work. So let me go with where I can get sex all the time.
I'm definitely going to get it there.
I'm going to get it with Jess, so I'll just do that. And then I'll just play the game during matchup time. Like, I just think that's kind of, and looking at that, if you are looking for a relationship, that's not somebody that you would want to look to, right?
Totally.
I don't know. That's just me.
Yeah, because if say she goes to the truth booth with Leighton, and they end up being a match, and she gets sent to the honeymoon suite, then what kind of fun is that going to be?
Well, it's play cards. I don't know.
I know, right? Like,
well, I mean,
that's
yeah.
what I feel like everyone else is doing in the honeymoon suite too. Like when we cut back to them,
right?
I think it was Jenny and Shelby were talking.
Yes.
And they're just like, enjoying a cocktail with another girl,
exactly,
not really with my guy.
I'm not with someone that I really like.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's kind of how the game goes. Well, in this particular case, it went that way. I was interested in who we don't hear a lot from, but she did kind of have some things in this episode, Alexandria, or Alex. And she made a statement, which I was shocked. She said her first boyfriend, because she was talking about opening up and not being, open to a lot of people. And she said her first boyfriend cheated on her 17 times. Oh. Okay, so let's go over this. Okay, first boyfriend. Okay, I understand. First boyfriend knew it all of this. Again, these are young people in their early 20s, so maybe at teenage, right? Cheat on the first time. Oh man, cheat on me. Okay, well, we're young. Second time. Okay, 17. Like that's 17, not 7.
Yeah.
Plus 10 of that.
Now,
10 plus 7, 17.
We don't know if maybe she found that out after 17 have completed. You know, like, it could go either way.
Yeah, but it sounded like, to me, it sounded like she was holding on to him and she was cheating, whether she knew it or not. Maybe she knew something was up. The way she explained it, that's how I got it from. Because I feel like if she found out after the fact, like after they had broken up, she's like, oh yeah, I was with someone. And then afterwards, you would say that. You would say, oh yeah, I was with someone. And then afterwards, I found out they cheated on me a bunch of times. But the way she said it, it was like while they were in the relationship. So I'm just like, I wouldn't, you know.
When you're young and you're in love and you like want so badly for this to be right, even though it's not. Yeah,
and I think that's why these are the people that are in this particular game, because a lot of them are like that. You know, they're very, when they find somebody, they want to get on them really quickly. I mean, that doesn't sound right.
Figuratively and literally.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. Say it like that. They can connect. Okay, you know what you know what I'm trying to say. Mentally and emotionally, they get together and they end up falling for each other very, very quickly. And I think that either it's that or the other person is someone who is very guarded. Where you look at someone like Alex. He came in very guarded. Some of the other people, Tyler, came in very guarded, still is somewhat guarded. So I feel like it's either one or two with a lot of these people. So there was kind of a feud going on, this triangle here, which is one of the triangles we have going on, which is Nate, Christina, and Brandon. Of course, Christina and Brandon were, you know, hot and heavy the first few weeks, found out they weren't a match, boom. But they still wanted to see each other, they still were connecting, all of that was going on. The last person that Christina was with was Nate, and they were vibing and they were, you know, everything was good. They find out they're not a match. So now Christina is going back to Brandon, and because that's who she really likes. And then of course Nate is having issue with it, and of course Brandon he wasted no time to put Nate on blast, which I thought was a low blow personally. Yeah. Because here's Nate, like I said, he started off for me a little crazy, but he was being cool and he was connecting with Christina, and you know, they found out they weren't a match. But his thing is like, okay, you don't have to put it in my face like that. Whereas Brandon, who I don't think he really cares about what anybody thinks, because he kind of just walks his own drum anyway. He's like, oh yeah, by the way, she's with me and you're not the one, so she comes back because that's who she really wants to be with. Yeah. Just kind of putting salt in the wound. So I don't know. I think Christina has some degree of putting that on. Like, I think she needs to take ownership too, because I think she doesn't really, she seems like somebody that, you know, likes to play with people's emotions. Like, she kind of uses that to her advantage. And I feel like she's done that a few times with men that she's kind of been involved with in the house. What do you think?
A little bit. Yeah, I do agree that she maybe is making this scenario happen. But also Nathan said, after we found out we were not a match, you immediately went back to Brandon. I think well, you're not a match, you're not a match. Where she goes is no longer your problem.
That's true. That's true.
But what was he expecting? Like, oh, well, when you and Brandon weren't a match, you still went and cuddled with him. So you and I aren't a match, but you should still cuddle with me. Well, no, like,
because not a match. No, and I get that, and that's true. Where she's supposed to go, she should be trying to find her match, which is what should be happening. But of course, she's going to what's most comfortable. If Nate's not it, then I'm going to this person. And I think too, part of that, what I was thinking is, it's like it is very difficult to play this game, because what they want you to do is they want you to get to know someone very well to see if they're a match. Well, in getting to know them, you talk with them, you know, sometimes, you know, you may be physical with them because you're attracted or what have you. And then you're like, oh man, like, this is person is it. This is my match. It's going down. And then no, it's not. So then it's like, now I have to do that with someone else. So then you get up the courage. Okay, well, let me find this person out. And you do that. And then, is it a match?
It can really be a big emotional roller coaster.
It's a huge emotional roller coaster. And I think that's why a lot of them seem a little crazy, because you are going like up and down, up and down, up and down. So I think you really have to kind of step out. And I hate to say like, oh, you can't get your feelings involved, because that's kind of what you're supposed to do. But it's like you kind of have to, you can't treat it like a real life situation. You have to get enough information, you know, and if you're trying to play the game really right, get enough information to see if they can possibly a match, find out as quickly as possible, and then if they're not, okay, move on to the next.
Right.
Because once you get your heart and feelings involved and they're not it for you, then that's where you get into trouble.
Yeah.
So,
but I will say that I am really amused and like impressed with the ability of the matches that have been confirmed from the Truth Booth, because that is just from people being thrown into a bucket, mixed together, and those people found each other, and actually really connected, and then they sent them to the Truth Booth, and it's right. Like the pair that we got tonight from the Truth Booth, like I love them, and they seem like they really like each other.
I did like that. So let's talk about the date real quick. It's interesting what happens when they go on these dates and they kind of couple up and they kind of have these heart-to-hearts a lot of times. Nate and Ellie had a good heart-to-heart, which, again, I like them as a couple. I think they work well together. I personally think they're a match. That's me. Jasmine really, I mean, she was like, I really like Alex. Like, I really like, she had like 5 reallys in there.
Yeah.
And so, and at that point, I was like, oh, they're going to get thrown into the Truth Booth because they seem to be vibing the most. And I think they had made some connections earlier, like they went on a date before, kind of early on, and nothing was confirmed. So it was kind of like revisiting that. So Alex and Jasmine are the 2 that do get thrown into the Truth Booth, which wasn't a surprise. And so they go in, and it seems like this is the first time I've seen Alex. Alex has been like Mr. Cool, Mr. Laid Back, you know, like he's kind of been observing everything. He hasn't really given too much. I mean, as far as what they've shown us, you know, in the episodes, he hasn't really given too much. He's kind of just played low key. And this is the first time where I feel like he was really into somebody. Like he was really into her. Like I felt like he wanted it just as much as she was. She did.
Yeah.
And so they go in, and they're waiting. They're a perfect match.
Yes. And I have to say,
yes,
with them and seeing them in the episode prior to the Truth Booth and seeing how cute they were, I was like, oh my gosh, if they're not a match, I'm going to be devastated. And that's where I can look back at maybe like the Brandon Christina situation where they felt that.
Right.
And it didn't click.
And it didn't happen.
It just didn't show up on the screen.
Right.
And, you know, I can see where that's heartbreaking. And they're like, well, I'm not going to let go of that.
Right.
Because you imagine if Alex and Jasmine were not a match, they probably would still be all over each other.
Well, yeah, I mean, and it's so late into the game, too. That's the thing. I think a lot of them feel, because what we're in episode 9, so it's the 9th week, a lot of them feel like if they haven't got with someone, then they want to make sure that they at least get up with someone that they can have a connection with.
Right.
Otherwise, you feel like, what's the point of this experiment?
Right. There's got to be somebody.
There's got to be somebody here that
with.
I can connect with, that I can kind of put my feelings into, or what have you. So I think with them, it was one of those situations where, dude, this is the 9th hour right now, or 11th hour. I really hope we're a match because I really can't see anyone else, nor do I really have time to invest in anybody.
Exactly. So then there's also that little element of desperation. Like we're at the dance. It's the last dance. I better just pick somebody and hope that they're a good dancer. And then what can you do at that point?
Exactly.
So are you going into a courting situation with a little bit of desperation? A little bit of projection of like, oh, I really want this one, so let's just make it, like put it all on there and shape people into being the right person. Like, you know, getting cheated on 7 times, or 17 times. 17 times. We're like, no, it's the one. It's definitely the one. It could be something like that. So that's where I get concerned with some of them, but I do think that they paired up pretty well.
I think so. I think so. And it kind of reminds me of couple skate. I don't know if you ever was skating back in the day, but roller skating was big for me when I was a kid. And I remember they had couple skate, and it was always like the last one, and they dim the lights, and then you try to find. So it's like you got to be like, you got your Mac, got to be strong, like leading up to it, because you got to have somebody, you have to have invested some time into someone that you could couple skate with, because then you'll be like, oh, it's couple skate time, come with me. But my game wasn't that strong, so I would like end up with like no one, or I think I have somebody, you know, and then I'm like, hey girl, what's up? She's like, oh, Larry got me right now, so I'm going with him. And I'd be like, oh, and then I have my little sister, and then we're skating, and I look retarded. So
I went skating a lot to the kids skating stuff, and I always went just because I really liked to go roller skating without thinking it was like a dance. I just wasn't in that mindset. Like I guess most other people were, but I was like, no, I like roller skating, whatever. So it would get to the end. I remember one of the first ones I went to, and I'm sitting like, oh, it's couple skating. I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'm gonna take my skates off. My dad's gonna pick me up, and then like some boy comes over, he's like, will you couple skate with me? And I'm just like deer in headlights, like, what are you asking me? I don't know. I can't know. Like he was asking me to marry him or something. It was just like, I can't do this. My dad's gonna pick me up. He's gonna see us couple skating. It's gonna be the end of the world. I can't commit to you. It's horrible.
That is hilarious. Yeah, that's what it took me back to. It's like that final hour, last call. Last call. You got to get it cracking. All right, so they kind of dodged to the honeymoon suite. Usually every episode for like 5 seconds, because I feel like there's nothing interesting going on over there. These people are matched up or whatever. Having fun. Right, and so we did see Jess and Shelby that were talking, and they were actually talking not to the people they're matched up with, but to themselves. So that tells you how it's going there. And I think they were just having a heart-to-heart about not being really with someone that they truly connected with. It's obviously their perfect match, which is why they're there. But the two people they kind of connected with kind of were really feeling someone else. Yeah,
it's like Brianna and Curtis had the connection,
they had
but
a strong
they got split
connection.
up.
Right.
So they played the game and said, okay, well, you have to match with somebody else. We might get split up.
Right.
But they're still holding on to that.
But they're still holding, and yeah, you could see how they act whenever they come. It comes in, and this camera kind of darts, especially to Brie because she's kind of still in the game. She's like, oh, my man's right there. So. Yeah, it's kind of sucks when that happens. But like they said, they're gonna, kind of get up and like, oh, when we get back home, we're gonna like have a good time. So they're like already, kind of planning what's gonna happen with them two and being friends and going forward. So we get to the matchup ceremony, and it is the guy's turn to pick. And so there was a lot of interesting, discussions going on. I think Ryan, the host, he kind of likes to stir up the pot a little bit,
that's a job.
by asking questions, and that's what it has to go. So Nate goes first. He picks Ellie, which, we figured would happen. Like I said, I really like that. Garland picks Jess, and she is... he asked her about like how you feel about that, and she's like, "Oh, well, Garland's like a little brother, like a brother." She said something like, "I'm looking in the mirror when I see Garland, like very, very alike." But there's no romantic connection, and of course Ryan is like, "So, who are you connected with?" And of course she says Leighton, because they are connecting, all the time, and she is like almost to the point where she's smitten by him, like she's like, he said, he makes a comment about, like, that's, she's like, that's my boo. And Leighton is kind of confirming that, saying, yeah, that's who I feel. And I think he said something to the effect of, after, this is over, that's who I'm going to be with. And she just is like, all like loving that, because you could tell she really likes him. Yeah. She really does like him. So, but I think that's an example. I think Jess is playing the game more so than Leighton is, even though, they are both still, connecting with each other. But I think Leighton kind of has the upper hand as the guy because there's other women that, still want to be matched up with him. Yeah. Speaking of Leighton, he ends up picking Ashley. And
the drama.
I knew that was going to happen because, the whole Dario situation. And, Ashley says, Ryan asked Ashley, how do you feel about that? And if she was the one that was going to pick, she said she would have picked Dario. So that's interesting because Dario really doesn't get a chance because Leighton went first. And so he didn't even get a chance to pick Ashley, who he would have picked. So do you think that that's a good strategy doing that? Because you could tell that even from last episode, these two guys, they were almost going to fight last episode. So they're definitely, at odds with each other. They don't like each other. They kind of, Ashley's kind of in between them. And Dario even makes a statement how he's conquered Ashley, which Ashley didn't really like that.
No, I don't think any girl ever wants to hear that.
Not at all.
There's different ways to put it. He didn't mean it in the way she took it. Maybe. But... no. Yeah,
it's not any way to do that. But do you think that Leighton is playing the game right, or do you think that he's kind of using this situation for spite?
Well, I think at that point he hadn't tried to match up with Ashley.
Yeah,
so
no, it wasn't like
it
wasn't like he, she's not a match. It is an option for him.
Right, and then of the girls that were left, I'm not sure who else he would have chosen. Like if it's 60-40 between Ashley and another girl, then you go with the one that's the higher statistic
that you feel like you could be connected to.
Yeah.
So you think he's playing it right?
Yeah.
In this, and then just Dario in this scenario.
If it's like Dario being like a little heated up about it shouldn't affect his decision. But then part of me also thinks that it was Leighton poking at Dario.
Well, I definitely think that.
Yeah.
Like, I definitely think that.
He did it just to mess with him.
Well, and that's what I mean. Like, obviously, he could have picked someone else, but that was just like, oh, he knew Dario was going to pick her, so she could be my match. I'm going to pick her, and to spite him.
Yeah.
So I think that's where I get into, are you playing the game right, or are you just trying to get at somebody? Because there's so much at stake, and at this stage in the game, there's really no room for error. You got to go with the best possibility.
Yeah, and I was fine with the decision, despite the motives beforehand, because I had thought that Leighton and Ashley were a match, even if they weren't like actually connecting, because Leighton's busy connecting elsewhere.
Right.
But I was okay with the decision to give it a try and see if it gets a light.
Okay. Moving on, Dario ends up picking Tyler, who Tyler's just like, oh, Dario's like my little brother, you know, like da-da-da-da. Which, and I think theoretically, we know that they've done some rigorous tests. One of the guests that we had kind of told us that, there's a lot of tests that they've gone through to find out who was their perfect match. So I think in a lot of these cases, like in this case, we'll just use Dario and Tyler, I think it's very possible they could be a match because they have a lot in common. Like she says, like little brother. They have a lot in common. Same thing with Garland and Jess. She said it's like looking into a mirror. And I think that a match is somebody that could be like that. Not to say that has to be a romantic connection, but they're a match because they work well together.
Right, because there's no tests that are going to actually match up your physical chemistry.
Right.
That's just something that can't happen until you're in the room together.
Exactly.
But on paper, I can see it.
Right. And I think that's what a lot of these cases are, which is why I think they might be missing the mark sometimes, because they're like, I'm not attracted to them, or I would never be attracted to someone like that. But, you guys are very similar. So on paper, you probably make a good match, which you need to explore. But, we're at the ninth. Again, we're at the 9th hour, or 11th hour. So.
And then when we had Tyler and Dario up there, and they asked Tyler who she thought might be a good match for her, she had mentioned maybe Leighton.
She did.
And that surprised me because I hadn't really seen them interact much, but she had a good point where she's like, oh, he's just upfront, he's outspoken in a similar way.
Right.
And she seems very analytical, and I could see her deducing like, oh, maybe that's a match because of these similarities, and I had not considered that. So then when that happened, I went back and reconsidered the Leighton and Ashley scenario, but it's already too late.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah. So had Dario gone first, and then Leighton went second, and then was like, well, I guess I'll pick Tyler.
Right.
Then they could have had, I feel like those are the two that need to swap.
You think that they need to swap. Interesting. And then we had Anthony, who picked Alex, and then Christina ended up being out because he had the choice of Alex and Christina. So, and Christina kind of was cool with it because she's like, I'm the 11th girl. I think at this point it makes sense, And so, of course, they put up the lights, and lo and behold, of course, they already had 4 matches, so they needed to get 6 additional, and it ended up being just 8.
Just 8.
So
it means there's 2.
There's 2 out there
that are wrong. That just got to swap.
You have a grid there that you put together. I would like to look at this.
Okay, here I'll hand it to you.
Okay.
And then I'll kind of explain it. So I did.
Okay.
For those who can't see it, I put across the top the 10 guys, and then down the side the 11 girls, and then colored in green in the blocks in my grid, the ones that are confirmed matches from the Truth Booth.
Okay.
And then red on the ones like the two nights where we got no additional lights. Those are all red.
Okay.
Because obviously those aren't a match. And then also, if we know Jasmine and Alex are a match, then they can't be matches with anyone else. So then that's how I just was playing with my holiday my holiday coloring pencils.
So the blank spaces that you have here, what is that?
Potential ones.
That are potential matches.
So not confirmed one way or the other, and then I made red squares around my predictions.
Your predictions. Interesting. Okay.
Which a lot of that's just more on gut feeling. But
Okay.
it was like I narrowed it down so there weren't so many options.
And see, my thing is, why can't they do this in the house?
Why not?
And I feel like, and maybe we need to talk to Tyler again.
Yeah.
But it seems like she would be the one to do
I
something
agree.
like that.
I totally agree.
She would be the one to do something like that. And she actually will be here for the reunion show.
Right on.
So she's already slated for that. She wants to be here for that show. So I think I'm going to talk to her about this because I'm like, girl,
Yes.
couldn't you? I mean, I predict, well, we'll get into predictions in a second, but I really think that if they would have done something like this, they could have probably saved themselves. But then the other token is, if somebody did do this, still everyone has to follow.
Yes.
And I think so many of these people, you got 21 people in this house that have all different mindsets and different things, and no one wants to be bullied or no one wants to feel like their voice isn't heard or anything like that. So with these strong-minded individuals, even if somebody did this, it would be hard to still follow.
Yeah.
Because you need 100% participation.
And in some of the forums that I looked at, because I was just seeing what other people did to track it, because there's lots of people, just on their own, like
Right.
a lot of fans that are tracking it themselves. And there were some comments that said, like, mathematically, the answer's already available.
It is.
From the information that we've been given. So that's kind of what prompted me to do this. And I was like, oh, I wish I would have done this from the beginning, because then I might have been able to track a little bit better. Because there are some people who had already posted up, this is the answer, and I couldn't work backwards to see where they ruled out certain matches. Like, I couldn't see where they would, like, I feel like it's a certain person, but, like, why isn't Ellie, like, she's got 4 options.
Right.
But they're like, it's definitely this one, but, like, how did they rule out these other ones?
The other ones.
So that's where I'm at. Like, I'm not the best at math, but I just took the information that I could break down.
Okay. Well, that's a great segue. Let's go into predictions. Let's do that.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Okay. So you kind of already stated, but you feel that if go ahead and say it again for the viewing people.
So with the matches that we made tonight, if they swap the Leighton and Ashley and Dario Tyler scenario,
so that would be Leighton to Tyler,
and Dario to Ashley. Done.
You think that's it?
And I think that Christina was supposed to go with Leighton also.
Oh, you think Leighton has the double match?
I think he does.
Oh,
I think he does.
interesting.
And then another prediction for just overall, like, why I kind of am on board with these decisions is that with, let's see, who we have, already in the honeymoon suite, we've got the 2 that were in love. Who is it? Curtis. Curtis is with Shelby. They're not all about each other.
Right.
And then we also have Brandon and Christina, who are in love with each other, but not a match.
Right.
Brandon and Brianna together are in love with other people, so put them together. Because I think maybe they're maybe the lament other people kind of type, and that's their match.
That's their match.
Is that they want not their perfect, which is fine.
Okay.
Yeah, that's I don't know. I was thinking about it a lot.
No, I think that's real. I mean, I can't disagree with that at all. I can't really give another scenario other than what you've done.
Yeah, because then maybe that means that in real life, then Shelby and who would it be? Shelby would be a match.
Oh, you're talking about who would she be? Because
because we've got, who is it? Curtis and Shelby are together, and if we put Christina and Brandon, put Christina with Leighton, maybe Shelby and Leighton in real life would be a connection, potentially. Maybe Christina just messed it all up for everybody.
I think, like I said, I think you got it right. It'll be interesting because obviously this has to happen next episode. It is the last episode, so it's do or die.
Yeah.
I hope that they make it because I think that with everything that they've gone through, in this show, through if they don't get it, I feel like it'll be not a waste for everybody because I think some people made some true connections, and I think that they definitely, that can possibly last outside of the show. But I think for the people that have not and kind of just been trying to play the game and trying to be there, and do what they're supposed to do, I would hate for them not to get any money as a result.
Yeah, but they did get a really awesome trip to Puerto Rico.
They did. That's true. And it sounds like they had a blast based on who we've talked to.
Yeah.
So we're definitely going to see what happens next week. But ladies and gentlemen, that is our show. We want to make sure that you tune in next week because obviously next week is the last one outside of the reunion show, which we will have Tyler back, already confirmed for our reunion show when we do it.
Give us your final predictions.
Yeah, and we do want to know your final predictions because it's right there. I mean, it's literally right there. Also, we want to make sure that you do subscribe to iTunes. Make sure you can download our podcast for free. We are in over 100 countries, so it's an amazing community to be involved with. You can download, you can give us ratings. 5 stars is what we love. We had 4 before. One more. Give us 5. I am your host, Lim Gonsalves. You can find me in social media. All over the place, social media. I'm like social media guru. No, I'm just playing. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Poet Saint all day, every day. Marielou, where are you at, girl?
You can find me all over social media because Lem has taught me to be a social media guru at Marielou Mandl. That's MARIELOUMANDL. And yes, please tweet us with your final predictions because I want to know if you agree with what we've got to say or if you've got different choices. Because last week's the last one.
It is the last one. Last one. And again, thank you for coming. I want to thank you for everyone that is tuning in. One more show. Stay with us. Tweet us. Let us know what's going down. And we'll see you next week.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.